I've played Stalker 2 for about 30 hours since release, and I have just completed the main story. I've still got tons of side things to do, but I thought now would be a good time to make my review. I didn't want to make it prematurely just in case my opinions on the game changed throughout my time playing, and there were times throughout playing that I didn't think I'd actually complete the game because I got stuck behind a bug that wouldn't allow me to progress, but I will talk about that in this video. Just to make a long story really short on this review, if you are a Stalker fan, you are going to like this game. This game is definitely a Stalker game. It's not gone and deviated too far from the original games and made it a completely different experience. It still holds true to what Stalker is all about. It is definitely a horror survival game first and a shooter exploration game second. But at the same time, it's still new enough and players can easily pick up the lore and stories of the older games by playing just this one and getting prompts from AI characters when talking to them throughout the story. There's tons of dialogue options that can fill you in on lore that you either may have forgotten or lore that you don't know about because you haven't played the old ones. So it's good all around, as allowing new players in while keeping true so the original and Stalker veterans can still feel good about this game. That's a very short answer. I really enjoyed this game. It holds true. The atmosphere is on another level. It's probably the most atmospheric game I have ever played, even with the quirks and the bugs that we will talk about in this video. So let's talk about the atmosphere first of all. The game is absolutely stunning and the world feels so alive with AI going about their daily business around you whilst you can be wandering through dingy underground corridors in secret laboratories, or you're walking through a really pristine, lovely looking poppy field or a grungy woodland and light cascading through the trees and all that sort of stuff. It really is beautiful, and that adds to the atmosphere entirely. The game's graphics are amazing. And it's not just the areas on a large scale that are impressive, it's the little attentions to detail that this game has chucked in absolutely everywhere. Some of you may know that back in 2019 I took a trip to Chernobyl in real life, and I got to experience the zone firsthand. I went to the outskirts of the Red Forest, the Dugar radar stations, the power plant itself. I also went to Pripyat. And I can tell you, from the moment that I entered that zone to the moment that I came out, I had a certain feeling, and I still can't quite put that feeling into words. It is a special feeling, and I feel like Stalker 2 absolutely grabs it. For example, when I went to Pripyat in Stalker 2, I went to a place that I know very well, and that is a small cafe that is on the water's edge. It is filled with stained glass windows and looks really cool. It's one of the iconic landmarks in Pripyat, and it's modelled perfectly. The stained glass windows that cover the front are absolutely on point. You've got the water machines round the left hand side that are exactly modelled how they are in real life. Even the front and the one that's fallen over is correct. Another thing that's modelled flawlessly in Pripyat is the Hotel Policia and the Palace of Culture. That whole area looks exactly right. Now, the actual layout of the zone isn't like real life, and that isn't a problem. It's made so you can walk around the area in the game better, but the atmosphere and the attention to detail that this game has as a whole is absolutely on another level. I think the only game that's made me feel like this, how Stalker 2 makes me feel, is Chernobyl, and that is a game that has been 3D modelled from the ground up, showing Chernobyl exactly how it should be. Now, whilst the region is absolutely insane to look at, the actual unpredictableness of Stalker 2 isn't what I expected, and I think that's due to A-Life not working as it should at the minute. For those that don't know, A-Life is artificial life. It is Stalker's AI system, and what happens with that game and how it should work is that AI go on doing their own thing without any user input. They do their own thing, they have their own patrol paths, they go to sleep when they're meant to, all of that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, that's not working right at the time of this recording. The devs have acknowledged it and they are working on an upcoming fix, so that will be good. The thing with Stalker is you have to be immersed for it to feel so good, and that's why the zone looks and feels like it does. But when you have AI spawning directly behind you in a fight, or literally spawning as you're aiming down sights right in front of your optic, it's not exactly sticking with the whole getting immersed feeling, is it? Now, I'm talking about A-Life specifically not working properly and being quite buggy, because that is the thing that a lot of people are picking up on at the minute and not happy about. But I feel like a lot of bugs in Stalker are quite passable for the most part. I encountered a few that I will talk about that were my bugbear, pun intended, but some of them that happened didn't really sway my gameplay experience. And let's be fair, every Stalker game has had bugs in one way or another, whether it be floating NPCs or objects clipping through the terrain. All that sort of stuff has come part and parcel, and that's not me saying that we should expect it and it's okay. There is a QA process for a reason, but it's not really something that will break your gameplay experience. The bugs that I want to talk about throughout this video are ones that really got to me, and they are ones that, either halted my progress or completely broke my immersion, A-Life being one of them. And whilst we're on the topic of AIs, let's talk about mutants for a second, just because I don't know whether it's a feature or a bug, but in the old games, I never ever expected to have a bloodsucker every 5 minutes. They used to be the cream of the crop, most annoying enemy to fight in Stalker, and one of the most iconic. But I feel like I've seen more bloodsuckers in Stalker 2 than I've seen blind dogs, for example. And AI's health needs to be adjusted, and I do think it is being looked at, because chimeras, for some reason, take like 600 rounds of AK ammo to take down, and that shouldn't be the case. I feel like I'm wasting a hell of a lot of ammo on AI that I shouldn't be, but I feel like only time will tell with that one. Don't get me wrong, Stalker 2 is still as unforgiving as ever, being that you can take one headshot and be dead, or one hit from a pseudo-giant and be on the floor as well. So it can be really, really unforgiving, as it should be. Like I said, this is a horror survival game over anything else. But when it comes to taking down enemies, I feel like they're a lot stronger this time around, and I don't feel like they are adjusted properly. Gameplay and story are also quite fledged out in terms of what you can actually do. There are takedowns, there's options to go in stealthily and do everything pretty much stealth, although that is quite difficult. Like I say, A-Life isn't working, and it affects a lot of things, including that, because enemies seem to spot you from absolutely miles away or through objects. So stealth is harder, but it is still possible, and I suppose we will see how it goes after some A-Life patches are put in. The story, though, is insane. It is really gripping. There are tons of different locations, and I feel like I need to say this because I don't think people understand that because the map is so big, if you are just doing main missions, you will be expected to run from one side of the map to the other from time to time to get to places just to pick up something and then walk all the way back. The point of this game is more pick up side quests along the way, do them, get to the next place, do that, come back, but also do side quests on your way back. So you're not just running 3 kilometers one way to come 3 kilometers another way. Sure, if that's what you want to do, but that's not how the game's built, so I don't think that's something we can judge the game on. The gameplay is also absolutely filled with choice. I have to play this game 3 times to see all the different endings, and I still don't know what options I need to do where to make sure I get a certain ending, so it's all about trial and error, and for the most part, I feel like the game has subtle things that you can do to either piss off NPCs or not, and I feel like that is something that is enjoyed. There's a lot more choice than I think any other Stalker game has had, and a lot more actual impact on the decisions that you are making as well. Artifact hunting is also just as fun. You can go out of your way and farm artifacts to get yourself stronger, better gear, and more containers to hold more artifacts. And there are tons of artifacts to collect. There are over 50, all with different buffs and debuffs, and I think that's absolutely great to see. There's also arc anomalies, which I've done a video on the channel already, which are bigger and more deadly anomalies, which you can see some of them from the map itself. For example, you can see a massive firewall in the cooling towers region of the map, which is absolutely insane when you're up close and seeing. I played my first playthrough on Stalker difficulty, and my second has just been started on Veteran, and at no point have I ever felt over-geared or undergeared for the fights. I feel like as you progress, if you are around the areas that you are fit for, you are well and truly at the right place. You know, if you are in the lesser zone, for example, as you first start, when you leave the lesser zone, you should be equipped for garbage, for example. Or if you're just planning to run from the lesser zone straight into Yaniv, you're going to be properly outgunned and outmatched for what you're expecting up there. And enemies progress as you go through the story as well, so you will get tougher enemies the further you are through the story. So what I'm saying here is make sure you are equipped for that, because it doesn't warn you, it just happens. Unfortunately, there has been a few times where my progress has been halted though, due to bugs, and I can't overlook those. For example, and this is where a spoiler warning comes in here, just before you get into Pripyat, you need to talk to Richter, one of the NPCs that constantly follows you around the zone. And for some reason, I just could not talk to him. There was no prompt, there was nothing. I tried reloading previous saves, I've tried doing absolutely everything, rebooting the game, reinstalling the game, nothing worked. I then filed a bug report with GSC Game World on their website, and it was fixed within an hour. I was able to do it. I don't know what they did, but I got an email saying this has been looked at in an hour. It was insane. But that isn't the only one. Unfortunately, and another spoiler warning here, there is a side quest where your starting village is being taken over by an enemy force. I won't say what enemy force, because I'll try and keep these spoilers as light as possible. If you don't complete that side objective, you lose that as a camp. You can't go back to it. There is nothing there for you. There's no traders, there's no nothing. I completed that side quest, and the last objective you need to complete it was to go into one of the buildings and speak to someone in there. Unfortunately, there's only one door into this building, and there was an AI standing there. You can't shoot him because he's a friendly. You can't get enemies to shoot them or attack them because they're technically in that building, and that building is considered safe. You can open the doors around them, but they are standing in the middle of the doorway, so they cannot get past them. Unfortunately, I couldn't complete that mission, so after an hour of trying, I gave up, walked away, and then 2 messages came over the radio. One saying that Zalicia is safe and people should come there. 2 seconds later, Zalicia is lost and taken over, and now I don't have Zalicia in that save file. Bit weird, that one, and it got to me because, you know, that is a good hub, especially if you use it as a fast travel point. That's a good central location to be fast traveling from. Or you desperately need to buy some ammo in the southern regions of the map, because that was one of the main hubs that you could go to for a trader. And I think lastly, what I need to talk about is just how much of a passion project this game was for GSC Game World. It stayed true to the original Stalker games. It also feels fresh at the same time. It feels like something's been missing from this genre, and I feel like Stalker 2 has absolutely filled it after being the absolute godfathers of the horror survival genre in the past. I feel like with a few patches, this game can absolutely be top again. This is one of the very few games that I have actually sat and looked at the credits for, and there is good reason for it. This game has been developed through tough times. No one can argue that at all. With the issues that are going on in the Ukraine region, it's really hard to develop a game in that climate. GSC have had to relocate developers to Prague during that time. They have also had to encounter absolutely unthinkable things that are happening to their homeland. I'm not going to get too much into the politics, but reading through them credits was heartwarming but also heart-wrenching at the same time. The memorial list of people that have passed during development was much longer than I thought, and it ended with a quote that really hit the heartstrings, and I will leave that on screen. This game has been developed through extremely difficult times, and I feel like they have done everything they can to make their passion project a reality, and I think that GSC Game World should be absolutely proud of what they've done and what they will continue to do with upcoming mod support, story expansions, and everything else that has been planned for this game. And the fact that they've already sold 1 million copies just goes to say something. We've been missing a game like this in the industry, and I absolutely think they've fulfilled it. If I was to give this game a score of 1 to 10, it would easily be a solid 8. If it was more optimized with less bugs, it would obviously be higher. I feel like a lot of this game is still left to explore for everyone, and there are tons more hidden details to find, so stay subscribed to this channel and see more Stalker 2 content, because I will be playing this game a hell of a lot more. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this gave you some insight to my opinions on Stalker 2. If you agree or have your own, let me know down below in the comments. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.